I was so pleased to get over here. When you look at this nationwide shortage of baby formula, Tennesseans have really felt the brunt of this. We have repeatedly been in the, unfortunately, in the top states that are most affected by this. Some formulas, the most popular brands, 54% is out of stock. And we've seen parents that have had to drive long distances to get formula. We have 2 children that were hospitalized because of this. Last month, I think that so many people in Tennessee that I've talked to were so offended by the president's statement saying, and I'm quoting him, if we'd been better mind readers, I guess we could have known about this. They just really took offense to that, because you go back and you look at what happened in February with the voluntary recall, 25% due to supply chain issues. And then you have to ask, and Tennesseans ask me regularly, why is it that the Biden administration was so slow to respond to this issue? And is it Lincione?
Lincecum.
Lincecone, okay. Give me your best take on that. And then Mr. Lynn, I'd like to come to you on it.
Well, I do agree with you that in retrospect, the infant formula market is a perfect case for what happens when you have trade walls around the country and high regulatory barriers to production. Look, and WIC is a perfect example. You know, we've had research on WIC and WIC's effect on concentrating the market for more than a decade plus, sponsored by the USDA, in fact. We've had these tariffs and dairy protectionism around for decades. In fact, it goes back to the New Deal, a lot of these distortions.
So you see it as an issue of consolidation for the market and for the government access program.
Yeah, policy-created consolidation on both the trade side and on the domestic side. And quite frankly, unfortunately, as I mentioned in my open, Customs has been seizing European baby formula at the border, destroying it for a long while now. So yes, I do think that we should have known a little more that this was a problem waiting to happen.
Mr. Lynn?
Thank you, Senator. This is a report from the U.S.-China Security Review Commission from 2002. In it, it talks about fragility of our supply chains because of high degrees of concentration. Fragility of our supply chains for semiconductors and electronics, and on and on and on. This is from 2002. Now, President Biden said, well, if we've been better mind readers, well, the fact is that we knew this problem was in the offing 20 years ago. Not just in baby formula, but in every sector of our industrial system. We have been ignoring this problem for 20 years. We have ample evidence that this is a fundamental structural problem that derives from the changes that we made in antitrust policy in the Reagan and Clinton eras. This is a bipartisan problem. Both parties came together.
And there are some of us who have talked about this for quite a while in these supply chains, whether it is computer chips, active pharmaceutical ingredients, which that is something that is a discussion for another day, but is quite significant. And indeed, Senator Menendez and I had legislation that would address that. I do want to come to Ms. Carney, and I think she is coming to us virtually. Do we have her?
Yes, in fact, she mentioned you, Senator Blackburn.
Okay, there you are. Okay, thank you so much. We welcome you. St. Jude is such an important part of our community in Tennessee, and I'm so delighted that we could have your expertise. I would like to hear from you in your capacity. How could, and as you look at this marketplace and accessing formulas for children that are sick, developing these nutritional plans, what could the federal government be doing to better support competition and innovation? And then when you look at the WIC program and the allowances that need to be there, if you had your magic wand, what changes would you make?
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. It is an honor to speak with you from our great state of Tennessee. I'm looking at it from a registered dietitian viewpoint, and especially with working in the clinical setting in the hospital. I know that over the last few months, we have had many challenges, and in my previous job, I worked a lot more with the WIC program, and I know that WIC has always been there to meet the needs, the nutritional needs of women, infants, and children. And I want to make sure that I don't think we can. This is going to sound funny, but throw the baby out with the bathwater. WIC may have some problems, but I know that WIC has been invaluable to me as a pediatric dietitian in my years of practice. And I know that we need to have something like what the WIC program offers that provides the nutrition for mothers and infants and children. At St. Jude, we are struggling a little bit with the supply chain issues and trying to find not only those infant formulas, but formulas that provide total nutrition for many of the children that we deal with. They're specialized formulas. I'm not sure, I'm not an expert on regulations. I am a nutrition expert, and I know that is so important to have the tools that are needed by dietitians to make sure that the patients are fed appropriately and that all their nutrition requirements are met. We really need to make sure that if anything happens to WIC, that we make up the $1.7 billion in savings that the sole contract has saved us. There's much support that's given to other programs that feed not only women, infants, and children, but other people in the community. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I hope that sheds a little light on it anyway.
Well, it does, and I thank you for that, and I will want to visit with you a little bit more, looking at the process you go through to educate parents, to work with parents, how you develop a program of alternatives in order to work this, because as the other witnesses have said, we should have known this was out there as a potential problem, and it never should have come to this. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Blackburn.